Hello, and welcome to the Sleepy Scientist. I'm so glad you're here. As you settle in for the night, finding that perfect, comfortable spot in your bed, perhaps tucked beneath a soft, weighted blanket, as your eyes grow heavier with each quiet, rhythmic breath, I invite you to join me on a journey. It's a journey through one of the most fascinating, yet profoundly invisible, processes keeping you alive. The story of oxygen in your body. It's a tale that connects the cosmos to your capillaries, the hearts of dying stars to the beating of your own. Now, I'll do my very best not to make it too interesting. I want you to drift off. After all, but in the unfortunate event that you stay awake, your mind's busy whispering, "Wait, red blood cells do what now?" Well, at least you'll float away into dreamland a little wiser than before. Before we begin, if you enjoy this gentle exploration into the intersection of science and sleep, I would be so grateful if you gave this video a like and perhaps even subscribe to the channel. It truly helps more sleepy minds find their way to our little sanctuary. And while you're cozying in, I'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it there right now? Feel free to drop it in the comments below. It's always a quiet joy to see this little community stretching peacefully across the globe. Alright, let's begin with one conscious breath. A slow, deep breath in, feeling your chest and belly expand, and a long, gentle breath out, letting go of the day. Let's begin our story, the story of you. To truly understand the story of oxygen in your body, we have to travel back in time, way back, not just before you were born, but before the Earth itself had fully formed. Our journey begins not on our quiet blue planet, but in the unimaginable heat and pressure of a cosmic furnace, the heart of a dying star. Yes, it turns out that you, and the very air you breathe, are made of stardust. The first elements in the universe were simple hydrogen and helium, but inside the cores of massive stars, these light elements are fused together under immense gravitational force, creating heavier elements. It is in these stellar forges that carbon, nitrogen, and, of course, oxygen are born. When these massive stars exhaust their fuel, they can no longer support their own weight. They collapse and then rebound in the most spectacular events in the cosmos, supernovas. These brilliant explosions scatter the newly forged elements across the vastness of space, including the oxygen atoms that are, at this very moment, waiting to be drawn into your lungs. For millions, even billions of years, these oxygen atoms drifted through the cold, dark void. They swirled in nebulae, clouds of gas and dust, until gravity, the silent architect of the universe, began to pull them together. This cosmic dust and gas coalesced, forming new solar systems, new planets, and eventually, about 4-5 billion years ago, a young, molten planet we call Earth. But Earth's early atmosphere was nothing like the air you breathe today. It was a toxic, alien sky-harsh cocktail of methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide, a world better suited to strange, hardy microbes than to creatures with big, oxygen-hungry brains. For the first couple billion years of life, oxygen was hardly around at all. The real turning point, the moment that would change the destiny of our planet, came from something incredibly small, tiny, industrious bacteria floating in the ancient oceans called cyanobacteria. These microscopic pioneers figured out a revolutionary, game-changing trick, photosynthesis. Using the light from our young sun, they learned to convert carbon dioxide and water into sugars for energy, and in doing so, they released a waste product. That waste product was oxygen. At first, most of this new oxygen didn't float freely. It was immediately soaked up by the iron-rich oceans, bonding with the iron and sinking to the seafloor as rust. Geologists can see this history today in vast, ancient rock formations called banded iron formations. For millions of years, the Earth was literally rusting. But eventually, the world ran out of places to stash the oxygen. It began to accumulate in the air. This period is known as the Great Oxygenation Event. It sounds like a dramatic concert, but it was a slow, planetary transformation that took hundreds of millions of years, and for most of the life on Earth at the time, it was an apocalypse. To the countless anaerobic organisms, microbes, that had evolved to live without oxygen, this new gas was a poison. It was highly reactive and deeply toxic. Imagine trying to enjoy your soup, only to find someone had dumped a bottle of bleach in it. Many of these early life forms were wiped out in the planet's first great extinction event. But life is resilient. Some organisms found clever ways to hide in oxygen-free corners of the world, and others, they evolved. Oxygen didn't just appear and hang around. It pushed life forward. It forced change. Organisms began to develop ways to harness oxygen's incredible power, tapping into its reactive nature to fuel more complex and efficient cellular processes. This evolutionary leap led to the rise of eukaryote cells with a nucleus and, eventually, to the explosion of multicellular life. You, me, jellyfish, sunflowers. The cat purring at the foot of your bed. We all owe our very existence to the dramatic, and at first deadly, arrival of oxygen on the scene. Fast forward a few billion years, and oxygen is now a leading actor in the ongoing play of life. The air you are gently breathing in right now is made up of roughly 78% nitrogen, about 21% oxygen, and a handful of other gases. It's that 21% that your body is eagerly waiting for. Take another gentle breath. Let's follow its path. Air enters through your nose or your mouth. Your nose, however, is nature's preferred gateway. And for good reason. It's an intricate, built-in air purification and conditioning system. It's lined with tiny hairs and a layer of mucus that act as a first line of defense, trapping dust, pollen, and any other microscopic debris. But the real magic lies deeper within, in delicate, bony ridges called nasal turbinates. These structures create gentle turbulence, swirling the incoming air so that it is warmed, humidified, and cleaned before it gets any deeper. It's a luxury spa treatment for every breath you take. From your nose or mouth, the air travels down your pharynx and past your larynx, or voice box, the source of every word you've spoken today. It then enters the trachea, your windpipe. This tube is remarkably sturdy, reinforced with C-shaped rings of cartilage that prevent it from collapsing, ensuring the airway always stays open, like a well-built tunnel. Now, here is where things start to branch out. Literally, the trachea divides into two main branches, the bronchi, each leading to a lung. From there, these tubes divide and redivide, over and over, forming an incredible, intricate structure that looks like an inverted tree, the bronchial tree. These branches get progressively smaller and smaller, becoming tiny bronchioles. Eventually, they end in what looks like microscopic clusters of grapes, the alveoli. These are the tiny, delicate air sacs where the real business begins. You have about 300 million of them, and their structure is a marvel of biological engineering, designed to maximize surface area. If you could somehow take all of your alveoli and flatten them out, their combined surface would cover a tennis court. All of that incredible surface area is folded up neatly inside your chest. This entire process is driven by the quiet engine of your body, the diaphragm. This large, dome-shaped muscle sits just below your lungs. When you inhale, your diaphragm contracts and flattens, moving downward. This expands your chest cavity, creating a gentle negative pressure vacuum that pulls air into your lungs. When you exhale, the diaphragm simply relaxes, rising back up and gently squeezing the air back out. It's a rhythm as soothing and steady as the ocean tide coming in and going out. It happens about 12 to 20 times per minute when you're at rest, over 17,000 times a day, all without a single conscious thought. The oxygen has crossed the barrier. It has slipped from the air in your lungs into the bustling, vibrant river of your bloodstream. But it can't just float around aimlessly. Oxygen doesn't dissolve well in blood on its own. It needs a ride, a dedicated, highly efficient molecular taxi service. Enter hemoglobin, the true, unsung hero of your circulatory system. Hemoglobin is a complex and beautiful protein, and it's packed by the millions inside your red blood cells, those cheerful, biconcave discs that give your blood its signature color. Each single red blood cell contains about 270 million hemoglobin molecules, and considering you have roughly 25 trillion red blood cells flowing through you at any given moment, you are essentially a walking, talking, dreaming oxygen delivery service of unimaginable scale. The logistics are simply breathtaking. So what makes hemoglobin so special? It's a marvel of molecular architecture, made up of 4 interconnected subunits. At the heart of each of these 4 subunits is a special structure called a heme group, and at the center of each heme group lies the crucial component, a single atom of iron. It is this iron atom that acts like a tiny, powerful magnet, perfectly shaped to bind with one molecule of oxygen. As your blood flows through the dense network of capillaries surrounding your alveoli, the hemoglobin molecules eagerly latch onto the incoming oxygen. This process is remarkably efficient, and something wonderful happens as they do, a process called cooperative binding. When the first oxygen molecule binds to a hemoglobin protein, it causes a subtle shift in the protein's shape. This change makes it slightly easier for the second oxygen molecule to bind. That one then helps the third, and the third helps the fourth. It's a bit like friends pulling each other into a group hug once one joins. The rest follow more easily. This binding is what turns your deoxygenated blood from a dark, purplish maroon to a vibrant, life-affirming cherry red. This color shift is the reason your lips and skin look pink and healthy, and why they can appear bluish when you're not getting quite enough air. Your body is a living mood ring for oxygen. But the real genius of hemoglobin isn't just its ability to grab oxygen, it's knowing precisely when and where to let it go. As your red blood cells journey away from the heart and into the tissues of your body, your muscles, your organs, your brain, the environment changes. Active tissues are warmer, slightly more acidic, and have a higher concentration of carbon dioxide. Hemoglobin is exquisitely sensitive to these cues. When it detects them, it takes it as a sign that this is a delivery stop. Its grip on the oxygen loosens, and it releases its precious cargo exactly where it's needed most. The reverse of cooperative binding also applies. Once the first oxygen molecule is released, it becomes easier for the others to detach as well. This ensures a rapid and efficient drop-off, a perfectly timed delivery to fuel the work of your cells. The journey itself is swift. A single red blood cell, dispatched from the heart, will travel through your body and return in about 60 seconds. An endless, rhythmic loop, ensuring every cell gets a fresh delivery of oxygen over 1,400 times a day, all thanks to this remarkable, iron-powered protein, silently doing its vital job on an endless river of red. The oxygen has been delivered. It has crossed from the bloodstream into one of the trillions of individual cells that make up you. But its journey isn't over. In fact, its most important job is just about to begin. This is where the real magic happens, the transformation of a simple gas into the very energy that powers your every thought, every beat of your heart, every gentle blink of your eyes. Welcome to the mitochondrion. Mitochondria are often called the powerhouses of the cell, and for good reason. They are microscopic, bean-shaped organelles, and their sole purpose is to generate energy. You can think of them as millions of tiny, biological furnaces. They take the fuel from the food you eat, primarily a simple sugar called glucose, and, with the help of the oxygen that just arrived, they burn it in a highly controlled, incredibly efficient chemical reaction. This entire process is called cellular respiration. It's not breathing in the way your lungs do. It's a series of intricate chemical steps designed to unlock the energy stored in glucose and convert it into a special, high-energy molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the universal energy currency of your body. It is the molecular fuel for nearly everything you do. If your body were a bustling city, ATP would be the electricity in every wire, the fuel in every car, and the cash in every pocket. Without it, the city would grind to a halt. Here's why oxygen is so crucial. A cell can generate a tiny bit of energy from glucose without oxygen, in a process called glycolysis. This happens in the main body of the cell, and it's a quick and dirty way to make just 2 molecules of ATP. It's barely enough to get by an emergency backup system. But once oxygen is available, the real energy generation begins. The byproducts of glycolysis are ushered into the mitochondria. Inside, they go through a complex series of reactions, including the famous Krebs cycle. In these steps, the molecules are broken down even further, and their energy is harvested. This is where oxygen plays its starring role. It acts as the final electron acceptor at the end of a long assembly line of proteins called the electron transport chain. It's like the final, essential gear in a complex machine. By accepting these used-up electrons, oxygen allows the entire assembly line to keep running, producing a massive amount of ATP. How massive? From just one molecule of glucose. This aerobic process, the one with oxygen, can produce around 36 to 38 molecules of ATP. It's a huge leap in efficiency. It's the difference between powering a city with a single battery versus a full-scale power plant. This energy surplus is what allowed life to become complex, to build brains, to move, to think. And here's a beautiful twist of biology. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, mitochondria were once free-living bacteria. In a pivotal moment in the history of life, these bacteria were engulfed by a larger, primitive cell, but instead of being digested, they survived and formed a partnership. The symbiosis. The host cell provided protection and nutrients, and in return, the mitochondria offered its incredible talents for efficient, oxygen-based energy production. Over eons, this partnership became permanent. Today, mitochondria even have their own tiny loop of DNA, a relic of their independent past. So, in a very real way, each of your cells contains a memory of this ancient, evolutionary handshake, a tiny, ancestral power plant, humming away quietly, turning each breath you take into the very spark of life itself. After all that elegant, life-sustaining work inside your mitochondria, your cells have produced a wealth of ATP, but in doing so, they have also created a byproduct. Just like a fireplace leaves behind ash, cellular respiration leaves behind carbon dioxide. It's the molecular equivalent of the empty boxes unwrapping paper after a gift has been opened. The gift of energy has been received, and now, the waste needs to be taken out. The great return journey begins. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, doesn't need to be forced out of the cell. It simply diffuses, moving from the area of high concentration inside the cell to the lower concentration in the surrounding fluid, and then slips back into the nearby capillaries, catching a ride on the same bloodstream that brought its partner, oxygen. Now, here's where things get even more clever. Carbon dioxide isn't transported in the blood in just one way. It travels in 3 different forms. A testament to the body's efficiency and redundancy. A small amount, about 5 to 10%, dissolves directly into the blood plasma, floating along like a passenger on a lazy river. Another portion, about 20%, binds directly to hemoglobin, the same protein that carries oxygen. But it hitches a ride on a different spot. Hemoglobin, it turns out, is a multitasker. But the vast majority, around 70 to 85%, is converted into something else entirely, bicarbonate. This transformation happens rapidly inside red blood cells, thanks to a lightning-fast enzyme called carbonic anhydrase. This enzyme combines carbon dioxide with water to form carbonic acid, which then quickly splits into a bicarbonate ion and a hydrogen ion. The bicarbonate then exits the red blood cell and travels freely in the plasma. It's a bit like packing the CO2 into a more stable and convenient chemical suitcase for the journey back to the lungs. This process isn't just about transport. It's also absolutely essential for maintaining the delicate pH balance of your blood. Your body is incredibly picky about acidity. Your blood must stay within a very narrow, slightly alkaline range. Bicarbonate acts as a crucial buffer, soaking up excess acidity and keeping your internal environment perfectly stable. It's one of the countless, silent, behind-the-scenes systems keeping you in a state of beautiful balance, or homeostasis. As this carbon dioxide-rich blood flows back to the heart and is then pumped to the lungs, a marvelous reversal begins. When it reaches the capillaries surrounding the alveoli, where CO2 concentration is low, the whole process flips. The bicarbonate is pulled back into the red blood cells and rapidly converted back into carbon dioxide. The hemoglobin releases the CO2 it was carrying. Everything is unwrapped and repackaged, ready for disposal. Now, just as oxygen once diffused into the blood, carbon dioxide diffuses out, moving across that same delicate membrane from the blood into the air of the alveoli. It's passive, effortless, and remarkably effective. With your next exhale, that journey comes to an end. That carbon dioxide leaves your body, out through the bronchioles, up the trachea, past the larynx, and back into the world. You have breathed in what sustains you, and you have breathed out what you no longer need. A perfect, closed-loop cycle, repeating itself, right now, as you rest. For most of the time, as you are now, lying quietly in bed, your body's demand for oxygen is steady and predictable. But what happens when you move? When you stretch, walk, or run? Let's imagine you decide to take a brisk walk. The moment you begin, your muscle cells spring into action. Their need for energy and therefore oxygen increases dramatically. This sends an immediate signal throughout your body. Your body's response is swift and beautifully coordinated. First, your breathing deepens and quickens. You begin to pull in more air with each breath, increasing the supply of oxygen to your lungs. At the same time, your heart rate increases. Your heart beats faster and more forcefully, pumping that freshly oxygenated blood more rapidly to the muscles that are doing the work. Blood vessels leading to your working muscles dilate or widen to allow for greater blood flow, while vessels in less active areas, like your digestive system, might constrict slightly. Your body is intelligently rerouting its resources to where they are needed most. This is all part of what we call aerobic metabolism. Aerobic meaning with oxygen. As long as you are moving at a low to moderate intensity, your heart and lungs can keep up with your muscles' demand for oxygen. Your mitochondria are happily humming along, efficiently producing all the ATP you need. You can sustain this kind of activity for a long time. But what if you suddenly break into a sprint to catch a bus? In those moments of intense, explosive effort, your muscles need energy faster than your heart and lungs can deliver oxygen. Your body can't wait. It needs ATP right now. So, it switches to a backup plan. Anaerobic metabolism. Anaerobic means without oxygen. Your muscle cells have a small, immediate stash of fuel they can burn without any oxygen at all. This process is incredibly fast, providing a rapid burst of energy, but it's not very efficient, and it produces a byproduct you might be familiar with: lactic acid. That burning sensation you feel in your muscles during intense exercise is partly due to the buildup of lactic acid. It's a signal from your body that you're operating in the red zone, working beyond your oxygen delivery capacity. This anaerobic system is only good for short bursts. Once you slow down and stop sprinting, you might notice you continue to breathe heavily for a while. This is often called an oxygen debt. Your body is working hard to pay back the oxygen it borrowed during that anaerobic burst. This extra oxygen is used to replenish your energy stores and, importantly, to clear out the lactic acid, converting it back into a usable fuel source. The beautiful thing is that the more you move, the better your body becomes at this entire process. Regular physical activity is like a training program for your oxygen delivery system. Your heart becomes a stronger, more efficient pump. Your muscles grow more capillaries, creating a denser network of roads for blood to travel. And perhaps most importantly, your muscle cells actually build more mitochondria. That's right. Your body adapts by building more of those tiny power plants. This increases your muscles' capacity to use oxygen, making you more efficient. It's why an activity that once left you breathless eventually becomes easier. Your body has literally upgraded its internal machinery. It has learned to use every precious molecule of oxygen more effectively, all because you decided to move. There is one part of you that, more than any other, is uniquely, insatiably hungry for oxygen: your brain. It's a curious little organ. It weighs just about 3 pounds. Making up only 2% of your total body weight, yet it consumes a staggering 20% of all the oxygen you use when at rest. That means 1 out of every 5 breaths you take is dedicated almost exclusively to fueling the soft, wrinkled, profoundly powerful control center at the top of your spine. Why is it so demanding? Because your brain is always on. It never sleeps. Not even when you do. Even as you lie here, now, drifting towards slumber. Your brain is a hive of ceaseless, quiet activity. It's regulating your heartbeat and body temperature, consolidating the memories you made today, balancing hormones, and, of course, orchestrating the very act of breathing that we've been exploring. The brain's primary cells, neurons, are the source of this incredible energy demand. They communicate with each other using trillions of tiny electrical and chemical signals every second. This constant chatter, which forms the basis of your thoughts, feelings, and perceptions, requires a tremendous amount of ATP, and as we know, making lots of ATP requires lots of oxygen. Unlike your muscles or liver, neurons have virtually no ability to store fuel. They can't save up energy for later. They live life on the edge, entirely dependent on a constant, uninterrupted supply of oxygen and glucose delivered by your blood. Even a brief pause in that supply can spell trouble. The brain is so sensitive that if blood flow is cut off, consciousness can be lost in as little as 5 to 10 seconds. After just a few minutes without oxygen, neurons can begin to suffer irreversible damage. Your body is acutely aware of this vulnerability and has a built-in priority system. In any situation where oxygen might become scarce, your body will automatically shunt blood flow away from less critical areas like your skin and digestive system, and redirect it towards your brain and heart. It's the biological equivalent of dimming the lights in the rest of the house to make sure the life support system stays on. This constant need for oxygen also explains why taking a few deep, slow breaths can feel so grounding when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed. You aren't just calming your nervous system in a vague way. You are literally sending a fresh, vital wave of oxygen to your brain, helping it to function more clearly and regulate your emotions more effectively. Your brain is always there, always working, and always waiting for its next gentle, life-sustaining delivery. Even now, as you sleep, your brain is hard at work during the stage of sleep known as REM, or rapid eye movement. When your most vivid dreams occur, your brain can be just as active and use just as much oxygen as when you are awake and solving a complex problem. Your brain is running simulations, processing emotions, and telling stories, all powered by the quiet, steady rhythm of your breath. It is the fuel for your thoughts, your feelings, and even the mysterious landscape of your dreams. And so, here we are, at the very end of a journey that began billions of years ago in the fiery heart of a star, and which ends, for now, with a quiet exhale in the stillness of your room. We followed oxygen from the cosmos to your lungs, watched it hitch a ride on the red river of your blood, and witnessed it spark the tiny engines of your mitochondria. We saw it become the energy that animates you, and then we followed its gentle departure as carbon dioxide, a whisper returning to the world. It's a strange and beautiful thing to consider, isn't it? This silent, invisible traveler that has been with you, inside you, since the very first breath you ever took. It arrives without announcement and leaves without ceremony. Steady, gentle, utterly reliable. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have to earn it or control it. It is simply given, a gift from the universe, delivered with every single breath. And perhaps now, as you lie here, feeling the weight of your body sinking comfortably into your bed, your breath soft and slow and easy, perhaps you feel a little more connected to this profound, life-giving cycle. With each breath that comes and goes, your body is whispering a quiet truth. You are being taken care of. You are alive. You can rest. Thank you for spending this time with me tonight. I hope this little journey into your own biology has brought you a sense of wonder, or perhaps just a deeper, more peaceful breath and a quieter mind. Before you drift off completely, if you feel so inclined, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to The Sleepy Scientist. It truly helps this little community of curious, cozy minds grow. And just as I asked at the beginning, I'd still love to know where in the world you're listening from as you fall asleep. Now, there is nothing left to do. Let your breath soften. Let your thoughts float away like clouds. And as you rest, know that oxygen will keep working for you. Gently, tirelessly, in the quiet, peaceful background, just as it always has, and just as it always will. Sleep well.